Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. I pay for all of this, Emily. I own this house. The words hit first, then the tone lands after. I freeze at the counter with my hands in the sink. I am Emily, 32, and in that second I feel 12. Behind us, the baby monitor crackles, and I pray he stays asleep. I try to laugh it off because that is my reflex. You own the house? Wow, that is romantic. My voice sounds thin even to me, and that annoys me. He folds a bill in half and taps the corner against the table. That is not what I meant, and you know it. He slides the bill toward me like evidence in a trial. Mortgage in my name, utilities in my name, car in my name. His finger moves down the page while he talks about numbers. You buy groceries with a card that only exists because of me. The sentence sits there between us like a dare. I dry my hands on a dish towel and face him. Can you not talk to me like I am a teenager? I keep my tone level because I hate yelling fights. We are married, this is our place, our life. He lets out a short laugh that makes my chest tighten. Our place, sure, except you do not bring in anything. He leans back against the counter and crosses his arms. You wanted to stay home, remember your big dream. The way he says dream makes my stomach flip in a bad way. Like I asked for some luxury spa instead of our kid. He is not shouting, which somehow feels worse tonight. His voice stays calm, almost bored, like he is reading terms. I go to work, I pay the bills, I keep us afloat. You sit here, you spend, you make $0, Emily. Each phrase lands like a small slap across my pride. I grip the back of a chair so I do not shake. That is not fair, and you know it, you agreed to. The second the words leave my mouth, I regret them. Now it sounds like I am begging him to remember he loved me. He tilts his head, eyes flat, and that look chills me. So what exactly do you think would happen without me? He pushes off the counter and steps closer to the table. You have no job, no savings, no account in your name. You would not last a month out there, be serious. I feel my face heat because the worst part is he is right. The baby starts crying then, sharp and angry through the monitor. I move toward the hallway on instinct, but he blocks me. We are not done, do not walk away from this, Emily. His arm is there for a second, not rough, just blocking. Something about that small block makes my heart start racing. I need to get him, he will wake fully if I wait. I slide past and do not look back because I might cry. In the nursery, I scoop our son up and bounce him gently. His little fist grabs my shirt and holds on like I am safe. I realize I am not sure I believe that about myself anymore. From the doorway, his voice follows, lighter now, almost amused. You are mad because I said the quiet part out loud. He walks in, hands in his pockets, watching me rock the baby. This is my money and my house, that is just reality. The word my scratches every nerve I have left tonight. Stop saying it like that, you are not my landlord. I keep my eyes on our son so I do not show panic. You are my husband, this was supposed to be a team. I hear my voice shake on that last word and I hate it. He notices, of course he notices, and his mouth twists a little. You want to feel better, get a job, pay half, simple. He gestures around us, at the walls, at the crib, at everything. Until then I am calling things what they are, not sugarcoating. You live here because I pay for it, that is the truth. He shrugs like he just read a weather report and nothing more. Here is the messed up part I see now while I write. In that moment I still try to explain him to myself gently. I tell myself he is stressed, scared, maybe angry at his workload. I stack excuses in my head like little shields against the fear. Underneath them all there is a thin voice saying run. I carry the baby back to the kitchen, heart still pounding. Our son calms down and starts chewing on my shoulder sleepily. I shift him to one hip and start clearing plates with one hand. Behind me I hear a drawer open, then the rustle of paper. I turn and see a folder spread out like a trap on the table. He taps another sheet, not looking at me this time. Property deed, loan documents, insurance forms, you see the pattern. I sign, I guarantee, I am the one on every line. If I walk away tomorrow, you have nothing, do you get that? The way he says nothing makes my chest feel hollow and small. I set the baby in his chair and buckle him in slowly. My hands work on autopilot while my brain races everywhere. What are you trying to say? Just say it straight, please. My voice comes out quiet and tight, like there is no air left. He finally looks up and I almost flinch at how sure he seems. I am reminding you who keeps this roof over your head. He speaks each word slowly, like he is teaching a stubborn child. So next time you want to question how I spend my money, remember this. This is my house, my car, my bank account, my paycheck. He pauses, eyes on mine, and then drops the last piece. And honestly, sometimes it feels like I own you too. He does not laugh after it, that is what rattles me. No joke, no smirk, just that flat, steady gaze on my face. For a second the room feels smaller and I cannot breathe right. I look at the front door and realize I have nowhere to go. 3 kids at home. He lifted his drink and nodded toward me. 2 under 3 and 1 fully grown dependent. Everyone laughed louder than they needed to, including me. I remember my jaw hurting while I smiled too hard. I tossed a napkin at him like it was all in fun. Careful, your dependent still knows where you sleep. My voice came out bright enough that no one blinked. Inside my head I heard that word again, dependent. It stuck there like something I could not swallow. He wrapped an arm around my shoulders for show. I am kidding, she knows I love taking care of everybody. He pressed a quick kiss to my hair and squeezed. To anyone watching, we looked like that solid couple. I felt like an extra in my own life. People drifted back to their conversations and plates. I refilled cups, wiped the table, kept my smile going. At one point my friend Lisa caught my eye and frowned. She mouthed "you good" when he turned away for a second. I lifted my thumb in the air and lied without a word. Later, when we packed up the stroller, he was buzzing. That line landed, did you hear them crack up? He loaded things into the trunk with quick, sharp movements. Honestly, you should be happy I can still joke. I swallowed the urge to ask why my existence was the punchline. On the drive home, the baby dozed in the backseat. He tapped the steering wheel with one finger in rhythm. You get weird when money comes up around people. I stared out the window and tried to keep calm. I get weird when you act like I am another child. He laughed under his breath like I made a joke. You know what I mean, nobody thinks that for real. You do a lot with the kids, I am not denying that. But let us be honest, I am the one carrying us. The way he said honest made me feel like a liar. I am not asking you to pretend you are broke. I kept my tone quiet so we would not wake the baby. I just want you to stop acting like I am a bill. The words surprised me as they came out of my mouth. He glanced over, eyebrows lifting like I had pushed too far. A bill, that is interesting, I never thought of it that way. He tapped the brake a little harder than needed at a light. Bills do not talk back about how the card gets used. He looked ahead again and his jaw tightened a little. Maybe remember who puts money on that card next time. That next time came faster than I expected. 2 days later, we were at the store with the baby. I tossed a pack of diapers and some snacks into the cart. I slipped in a cheap pair of leggings because mine were ripped. It felt like a small mercy I did not want to explain. At the register, I pulled out the joint card like usual. The machine beeped and flashed decline in big letters. The cashier looked away politely and my stomach dropped. Run it again, please, it must be a glitch. The second beep felt louder than the first one somehow. He stepped in with his wallet already open and calm. Here, use this one, hers does that sometimes. He smiled at the cashier, then at me in a different way. That look told me this would not end at the register. I wanted to disappear into the floor with the receipt. In the parking lot, he took the bags without talking. I tried to buckle our son in without shaking too much. What happened to the card? I finally asked once the door shut and we were alone. He slid the receipt into his pocket like it belonged there. I moved some things around, do not panic. He leaned on the trunk and checked his phone. Joint accounts are messy, I am trying to keep them tight. He looked up and watched my face while he talked. Big purchases should go through me first, that is all. Diapers are big purchases now. I heard the edge in my own voice and winced. He tilted his head and gave a slow half shrug. You added clothes and snacks, it adds up pretty quick. Text me first and we will avoid this kind of moment. I drove home while he scrolled through something in silence. Every mile I imagined him somewhere alone with his accounts. I pictured numbers I could not see and rules I never agreed to. By the time we pulled into the driveway, my hands were numb. I still thanked him for covering the total like a grateful guest. Later that week, Lisa came over to drop off some toys. Our kids sat on the floor and argued over one plastic truck. We watched them from the couch and passed a bag of chips. He has been on one lately, she muttered with a side glance. Why? Oh, okay, or are we pretending everything is fine today? I almost went with the usual line, he is just stressed. The words reached my tongue and then stalled there. Instead, I exhaled and let a smaller truth slip out. He keeps reminding me I do not make anything. My voice trembled just enough that she straightened. That is not normal, she said, softer than before. Her hand brushed crumbs off her jeans while she frowned. He jokes, but he chooses what to joke about, you know. I shrugged and stared at the kids to avoid her eyes. If I push back, he says I am ungrateful, so I shut up. She hesitated, then leaned closer like she was crossing a line. If you ever need to crash here, call me, I mean that. The words made something ache in my chest and throat. I made some dumb joke about her spare room and air mattress. We both laughed, but neither of us really found it funny. That night after she left, I picked up my phone. I opened our message thread and reread her offer twice. He walked in from the garage, wiping his hands on a rag. Who keeps pinging you like that? You have been glued to that thing. He held out his palm, casual, like he was asking for the remote. It is just Lisa, relax, we were talking about the kids. I hugged the phone to my chest without meaning to. He stared at that movement and his expression chilled. I am not mad, I just want to see unlock it. The demand in his voice made my stomach clench. I unlocked the screen and placed it in his hand. I knew there was nothing explosive in the chat, only hints. Still, watching him scroll through my words felt disgusting. His thumb moved over each bubble while his eyes tracked. He paused on the line about me shutting up when he talked money. This is how you talk about me to your friends. He looked up and there was a new anger there. So I am controlling now, that the story. He tossed the phone onto the couch beside me. Maybe if you respected what I do, we would not have this script. He walked out before I could form any reply. The phone buzzed again with a new message from Lisa. You good? She wrote. He did not sound thrilled earlier. I stared at the screen and did not answer for a long time. For the first time, I wondered how many people he thought he owned. The payment failed 3 times before I admitted it was deliberate. I sat on the couch with my laptop open and my heart racing. 2 pairs of cheap sneakers in the cart, one for me, one for him. The red error line flashed again and again like it was mocking me. I already knew which conversation this was about. I backed out of the checkout screen and opened our bank app. The shared card limit was half what it used to be last month. A new alert sat there bright and smug, saying changes were made. Guess whose name was on the change confirmation and whose was not? My hands went cold while the baby babbled on the floor beside me. The garage door rumbled and I snapped the laptop half shut. He walked in, tossed his keys in a familiar spot and stretched. You look guilty, he joked as he kicked off his shoes. I forced a smile that did not reach anything inside my chest. Trying to order stuff and the bank keeps blocking it. Let me guess, our favorite card again. He walked over and pulled the laptop fully open with one hand. His eyes moved straight to the banking tab like he expected it. You keep using that one like there is no ceiling. He tapped the screen where the new limit showed next to my name. You lowered it. My voice came out thinner than I wanted, almost a whisper. I cleared my throat and tried again because I hated sounding small. You changed it and did not tell me why. The last word hung there between us longer than I expected. He shrugged and rested his hand on the back of the couch. Because we need structure and you do not track your swipes. He did not raise his tone, which somehow landed harder. I am not saying you are reckless, just not detail-oriented. He smiled in that way that pretends to be gentle while cutting. I was buying shoes, not a yacht. The sarcasm slipped out before I could reel it back. If you want a budget, we can talk about a budget. What you did here feels like you put me on an allowance. I heard my own words and felt my face heat up. It is not an allowance if I cover literally everything. He moved around to the front of the couch and leaned in. You want something over $50, run it by me first. That is how couples handle money when one person funds it. The way he stressed one person made my stomach twist again. There it was. Not shouted, not dramatic, just slid into the middle of Tuesday. If I bought snacks and diapers, that slid under his radar. If I bought anything for myself, it suddenly needed approval. Looking back, that split was the real line, not the jokes. I clicked away from the bank app and stared at the cart. The sneakers for him stayed, mine went I. Into the trash icon. Fine, I muttered, and I hated how quick I folded. I will wait until we sit down and plan it together. He nodded like a boss, signing off on an intern's idea. That night, after the baby finally crashed, I collected empty cups. He sat at the table with his laptop open and brows furrowed. Every few seconds he hit the trackpad hard, then rubbed his forehead. You good? I asked, stacking dishes just to keep my hands busy. He grunted something about doing long-term planning and stayed focused. I wiped crumbs into my hand and tried again. Is there something wrong with work? You keep tweaking accounts. I tried to sound curious, not accusing, because I knew his triggers. He shook his head without looking up, then clicked on another email. Just making sure things are in my name that should be. My ears rang at that phrase in my name like a warning siren. I hovered by the table pretending to straighten a stack of mail. On the screen I caught a subject line before he scrolled. Restructuring assets in case of separation burned itself into my brain. He clicked it open before I could read more and my pulse exploded. I know snooping is messy and I hate that I did it. But once you see a phrase like that, the floor moves. He walked to the fridge for a drink and left the laptop glowing. I stood there alone in the room, heart pounding in my ears. Curiosity and fear pulled harder than my guilt in that split second. I slid into his chair and scrolled up just a little. Some financial advisor had written a neat list of options. Separate checking, separate retirement, change beneficiaries, revise deeds. Words like protect yourself and minimize exposure jumped out at me. None of those phrases included the word we anywhere on that page. My chest clenched in the sharp, hot way I still remember. It hit me that he was planning for a future where I lost. Not just emotionally, but on paper, signed and stamped. I scrolled down further and saw the word divorce in bold. That was the exact moment I realized how replaceable I was to him. The fridge door shut and a bottle clinked against the counter. I jolted back from the screen like it burned my fingers. I closed the browser, pushed the chair back, grabbed another dish. He walked in and eyed the table like he was counting items. Cleaning late tonight, he said, casual on the surface, eyes sharp. Could not sleep, I lied, trying to keep my breaths even. He took his laptop with one hand and snapped it closed. Do not overthink the money stuff, that is my headache. He brushed past me like I was part of the furniture. I stood there holding a cup that did not even belong in my hand. After he went upstairs, I checked the baby, then hit the pantry. That became my crying spot, the one place I could muffle sound. I sat on the floor between shelves and tried to breathe steady. My brain ran in circles around those words about separation. Every path I imagined ended with me outside the door alone. Here is where I admit something ugly about myself. I did not think, how dare he plan without me, not at first. My first thought was, he is right, I have nothing. No income, no savings, no safety net that did not have his name. The shame of that pressed on my chest harder than the anger. When the tears finally slowed, I pulled my phone from my pocket. I opened a search bar and stared at the blank line. My fingers hovered, then started typing with a weird, jerky rhythm. Can husband kick stay-at-home mom out of house? I hit search and felt like I was confessing to a crime. Result after result talked about rights and laws in states. Most of it sounded like another language with numbers and codes. A few lines stood out enough to anchor me in place. Things like marital property and legal interest and contribution. None of it guaranteed safety, all of it hinted at a fight. I scrolled through one post where a woman told her story. Her situation looked different on the surface but familiar underneath. She talked about being cut off, moved around, kept on a tight leash. In every reply, people told her to gather documents and make copies. That word gather stuck with me even after I closed my phone. I walked back into the kitchen and looked at our file drawer. It sat there like a sealed box, full of proof I never touched. Birth certificate, insurance, loan paperwork, all probably stacked inside. All with his signature first, mine somewhere behind if at all. The idea of opening it that night scared and tempted me at once. In the end, I did not touch a single folder that evening. I turned off lights, checked locks, moved through the house quietly. From upstairs, I heard the faint sound of his snoring already. The place looked peaceful, almost boring like any other family home. Only I knew that somewhere inside it, plans were being drawn without me. I crouched on the floor and snapped pictures of the baby swing. My hands show. Okay, so much the images kept blurring on the screen. He was in the shower upstairs, water roaring like a countdown. I typed out the listing with my thumb stabbing at every word. Barely used, pickup only, needs space fast. I added a low price because I wanted it gone quickly. Not because we needed space, because I needed cash I could touch. I knew exactly what he would say if he caught me. He would call it his swing, bought with his money for his kid. The thought alone made my neck feel hot and tight. The first notification popped up before I even closed the app. Someone wanted to come that afternoon if it was still available. I checked the time and counted his schedule in my head. He would be out for a few hours running errands with a friend. I typed yes, today works, and my heart thudded harder. All morning I watched the clock more than the cartoon channel. Every little sound from the driveway made me twitch toward the window. When the buyer messaged they were outside, my palms went damp. I buckled the baby into his seat like this was normal life. Be right back, buddy, I whispered, voice thin and shaky. The guy lifted the swing into his trunk with one quick motion. He counted out bills and held them out without much interest. I hope your kid likes it better than mine did, I joked. The words tasted bitter, but he laughed and thanked me anyway. I closed my hand around the money like it might vanish. Back inside, I shoved the cash into an old envelope near the fridge. Not hidden exactly, just not obvious, at least that is what I told myself. The baby banged a spoon on his tray and stared at me. I know, Mom is being weird, I muttered with a grim smile. That envelope felt heavier than it should for such a small amount. By nap time, I had 3 old carriers and a monitor listed too. Each post came with the same little stab of guilt and relief. I kept checking the driveway like he might suddenly appear early. Every sale meant another folded bill tucked into that crooked envelope. Every bill meant I felt slightly less trapped and slightly more scared. 2 weeks later, I walked into a bank with that envelope in my bag. The lobby felt too quiet, every sound bounced around my nerves. A woman at a desk smiled and asked what I needed today. I want to open a savings account, I answered, voice almost steady. Then added faster, just under my name, just mine. She clicked through her screen and asked routine questions about address. Then she paused and glanced up with one eyebrow raised. Any joint accounts with your spouse you want linked here? The word joint made my chest tighten like a belt. No, I said, sharper than I meant, this is separate. She nodded once and kept typing, and that calmed me a little. It took maybe 15 minutes and 3 signatures on small lines. When she slid the empty balance slip toward me, my stomach flipped. The number looked pathetic, but for the first time it belonged only to me. I walked out feeling both proud and like I had robbed a store. That night I tried to test the ground without revealing anything. He sat scrolling through sports updates while I folded tiny clothes. Do you ever think we should each have personal savings? I asked. He snorted without looking up and shook his head once. Why, so you can hide cash from the person paying the bills? I laughed like it was all a joke because that kept the peace. It is more like backup in case something unexpected happens. He finally glanced over and his expression went weirdly amused. The unexpected thing is you leaving this house, that is it. If that happens, trust me, it will not be you who needs backup. There it was again, that little threat slipped inside casual words. I folded one last tiny shirt and pressed my nails into my palm. My brain yelled at me to argue, but my throat would not cooperate. Forget it was just thinking out loud, I forced out with a shrug. I decided in that moment that he would never hear about my account. Nap times became my planning hours whether I liked it or not. I opened an old laptop at the table and stared at a blank document. Just a simple resume, that was the goal, nothing dramatic. The cursor blinked like it was judging me for taking so long. What did you even do? I whispered to myself, fingers hovering. I started with the last roll before staying home and wrote the title. The date stared back at me like a gap in a fence. The years between then and now stretched longer than I expected. I filled in tasks, tried to remember numbers, tried to sound competent. It felt like describing someone else I used to know only vaguely. Halfway through, the baby monitor crackled and I flinched hard. I saved the file under a boring name that would not draw attention. It hit me how secretive my own life had become inside my kitchen. I rocked my son back to sleep with my mind still stuck on bullet points. Every soft breath from him made the gap in my work history feel louder. That evening, I drafted an email to my old manager with shaking hands. Not asking for my job back outright, I was not that brave yet. Just a gentle message asking if they ever hired part-time again. I rewrote the body 3 times to sound casual instead of desperate. Finally, I hit send and immediately wanted to crawl out of my skin. Her response popped up the next afternoon while I chopped vegetables. I wiped my hands on a towel and opened it with my heart hammering. She thanked me for reaching out, told me the team was full right now. She added that she would keep my name on file if anything opened up. I stared at those polite lines and felt like the world tilted again. I am not proud of my first thought after reading that message. It was not good, at least she answered, or even maybe later. It was he is right, I really have nowhere to go. That belief had sunk into me so deep that it sounded like truth. I closed the email and tried not to cry over a cutting board. When the kids finally crashed that night, I texted my sister. Random thought, what would you do if you had no income? I watched the typing bubble start, stop, start again. Why are you asking me that at 11 at night, she wrote. Then another message followed, is he giving you a hard time again? I almost lied, then the words slipped out before I overedited them. He controls all the money and keeps reminding me I have nothing. I stared at the screen and felt my pulse in my throat. Sometimes he jokes that he owns everything, including me. Even typing it made me feel weak and small and somehow disloyal. She called immediately and I stepped onto the back porch to answer. I am fine, I opened with, which is always what people say. Wind pushed against the phone and made my voice sound thinner. Things have just been tense, about money and decisions and stuff. I heard her sigh on the other end, long and heavy. Tell me straight, does he block you from getting to accounts? Her tone had shifted into that serious big sister mode. Yes, I admitted, barely louder than a whisper, and he lowered my card. Also, he talked to someone about protecting assets if we split. The last part came out in a rush before I could swallow it back. There was a short silence that felt longer than it was. Okay, that is not just tense, that is controlling. You need actual advice from someone who deals with this legally. Talk to a lawyer just once, you do not have to do anything yet. I stared at the dark yard and gripped the railing until my hand hurt. I do not want to blow up my life over money arguments. Even as I said it, I knew it was not just about cash. It feels dramatic to involve a stranger in our marriage. She made a small, frustrated sound that still had love in it. You involve strangers when your car breaks, this is your life. That line stuck inside my chest harder than I expected. We talked logistics of childcare and schedules and backup plans. She offered her couch again like it was the most normal thing. Before hanging up, she repeated one thing very clearly. Promise me you will at least find out your options, okay? After the call, I sat at the table with my phone glowing. I opened a browser again and typed family attorney free consultation. Names and firms filled the search results faster than I could blink. I clicked on one with good reviews and a short description. The form asked for my contact information and a brief note. I hesitated at the box, asking for the reason for the visit. Financial control and possible separation looked too blunt on the screen. I erased it and wrote questions about rights for stay-at-home parent. It still felt like I had crossed some invisible line just by typing that. I hit submit and sat there listening to my own breath speed up. They called back the next day while I stacked blocks with the kids. "Hi, this is Mia from the law office. Is now a good time?" My brain scrambled and I walked into the hallway to hear properly. She offered a half-hour slot 2 days later in the morning. I accepted with my voice too calm for how I felt inside. Now I had a different problem. I needed a believable excuse. He would never be okay with me going to a lawyer alone. I could not tell him I wanted to understand my rights in case he left me. So I landed on the only thing he never questioned. "The baby has a checkup," I rehearsed in my head like a script. That night after dinner, I brought it up casually over dishes. "By the way, I need the car Thursday morning for an appointment." He glanced up from his phone and frowned a little. "What appointment? I do not remember anything on the calendar." I rinsed a plate to buy one more second before lying. "Pediatrician visit, follow up on that rash he had last month." I kept my tone light, like I was half bored with the whole thing. "You were not there when I booked it. I forgot to mention." He exhaled through his nose and rolled his eyes. "You sure you need the car? Can you reschedule and go later?" He only had morning openings this week, and it looked important. I hated how easily the lie rolled once I started it. "If we push it, they make us wait weeks, you know how they are." His shoulders dropped a little as he weighed the hassle. "Fine, just do not be gone all day. I have things this afternoon." That last line chilled me more than it should have. Not the words themselves, but the ownership under them. I just nodded and wiped my hands and said thanks. Inside, adrenaline buzzed at the thought of actually going. If he checked, everything would blow up in my face. Thursday morning, my hands could not stop trembling. I dressed the baby in a quick outfit and packed a diaper bag. The whole time, I kept rehearsing my story in case he called. He kissed the kids goodbye at the door like any normal day. When the door closed behind us, my legs felt strangely unsteady. The drive to the office felt both too short and endless. The building itself looked plain, which weirdly helped my nerves. I strapped the baby into the stroller and checked the time again. We were 10 minutes early because I was terrified of being late. My stomach fluttered like I had walked into a final exam. Inside, a receptionist looked up and greeted me with a polite smile. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked, hands resting on a keyboard. "Yes, under Emily," I answered, my voice a little too sharp. She found my name and handed me a short intake sheet. "Write just what you are comfortable sharing," she added quietly. I sat in a corner and filled out brief lines about my situation. Married, 2 children, no income, increasing financial control. Those words on paper made it look clear in a way my mind avoided. The baby squirmed in his stroller and tossed a toy onto the floor. Every small sound felt louder in that waiting room silence. For a moment, I considered walking out and pretending this never happened. I could throw away the new account, delete the emails, go back. Tell myself it was just stress and jokes and poor communication. Then I remembered that email about protecting assets from me. That memory pushed me deeper into the seat instead of toward the door. A man in a simple shirt came to the doorway and called my name. He had an easy manner that somehow made me more nervous. We went into a small office and I parked the stroller near the wall. He glanced at my son and then back at me. "So what would you like to talk about today?" I stared at my hands for a second because the words jammed. Then everything tumbled out in short, uneven bursts. How every account was in his name, how he limited my card. How he reminded me constantly that the house and car were his. How he talked to someone about moving things if we broke up. The lawyer listened without interrupting, which almost made me cry. Every now and then he scribbled something and nodded slowly. When I finished, I felt lightheaded, like I had run uphill. "So you are not sure you want to leave, but you feel trapped." That summary hurt because it was completely accurate. "Exactly," I breathed out, gripping the arm of my chair. "I do not know if I am overreacting or if this is serious. He acts like I should be grateful he lets me stay home. He has told me more than once that he could replace me easily. Saying that last part out loud made my eyes burn. The lawyer leaned forward slightly with his hands clasped. I am going to give you information, not instructions. First thing, staying home with your children does not erase your rights. In this state, assets gained during marriage usually belong to both of you, even if only one person's name is on the paperwork. That one line knocked the air out of me more than any insult. My entire world had been built around the idea that I own nothing. Him paying the mortgage does not mean you are a guest, he added. You contribute in ways that have legal value even if they are unpaid. I honestly did not know what to do with that thought. I swallowed hard and asked the question that haunted my searches. Can he just lock me out one day and keep the kids? The words came out choppy, like they scraped on the way up. He shook his head slowly with a firm look. Not legally, not without a process, and not without a judge involved. He explained how sudden eviction works for tenants, not spouses. He talked about temporary orders and how courts view caregiving. Judges look at stability and best interest, not just who earns money. Do not let his threats convince you you are powerless. My hand still shook, but a different heat spread through my chest. Let us talk about safety and preparation, he continued calmly. Do you have somewhere you could go if things escalated? I thought of my sister's couch and her steady voice. Yes, I guess my sister keeps offering her place. He nodded once, and that seemed to satisfy something on his list. Next, start gathering copies of important items quietly. Tax returns, loan statements, insurance, anything with numbers. Take photos on your phone, email them to yourself, or print them. If you ever decide to file, that information speeds up everything. His instructions felt strangely practical for such a huge topic. He also told me to record patterns, not just big blow-ups. Write down dates when he threatens to throw you out. Save messages where he talks about owning everything. Document if he blocks you from access to shared resources. That Word document sounded cold, but it also sounded like armor. At one point he paused and looked at me very directly. I am not telling you to walk out tomorrow, he said. I am telling you that you are not stuck without options. You are allowed to know where you stand under the law. I realized my shoulders had been up around my ears the whole time. We went over money for a moment, which made me anxious again. He explained that consultations like this were free, then smiled. You do not owe me anything today except maybe honesty with yourself. If you come back to take action, then we talk about fees. I nodded slowly, still processing the phrase honest with yourself. He handed me a small card with his direct number on it. Do not leave this somewhere he can stumble on it, he warned. Keep it with a trusted person or in a place he never checks. If things ever turn volatile, call first and we move quickly. The word volatile made my skin prickle even though he said it evenly. As the meeting wrapped up, he asked one last question. Do you feel safe going home today? I thought about it carefully instead of answering automatically. He gets angry and controlling, but he has not been physically violent. I think I am safe today, I just feel very small there. He nodded like he had heard that line more than once. Trust your instincts. If that ever changes, do not downplay danger. Until then, act normal, do not tell him you met with counsel. Gather documents, build a reserve, lean on your support system. He stood and opened the door, letting the conversation settle there. I pushed the stroller back through the lobby in a daze. My phone buzzed in my bag, and I ignored it for 1 second. Outside, the air felt different, or maybe that was just me. I buckled the baby into the car and finally checked the screen. 3 missed calls from him stared back at me like bright warnings. A text sat under them, short and sharp and full of accusation. Where are you? This is not okay. My throat went dry as I read it again and again. In that parking lot, with the engine off, I had a choice. Call back and feed the lie, or tell the truth and watch everything explode. I hit call before I could chicken out completely. The text stared from the screen while it rang in my ear. Where are you? Why is your phone off? No hello, just that sharp voice blasting straight through me. Every muscle in my neck went tight at once. I am in the parking lot, reception was terrible inside. The lie came out smoother than I liked, which scared me. I just walked out with him. He did fine. I added that last part fast in case he asked follow-ups. He exhaled hard and it fuzzed against the speaker. You were supposed to be back an hour ago. There was a scrape of something in the background behind him. You know I have plans this afternoon. Did that slip your mind? I stared at the steering wheel and forced my voice steady. They were running behind. We had to wait forever. You always have a reason when you waste my time. His words landed in that slow way that hurts more. Send me a picture of him in the exam room. My heart lurched so hard I gripped the wheel fast. They asked us not to take photos, privacy stuff, remember? There was a pause, just breathing on the other end. I could practically feel him deciding what to believe. Whatever, just get home. I am already late now. The line cut before I could soften anything or breathe. I sat there shaking while my son kicked his feet happily. On the drive back, my brain replayed every second with the lawyer. Every sentence felt bright and guilty inside my head. By the time I turned onto our street, my jaw ached. His car was still in the driveway, which made my stomach drop. I had hoped he would be gone already and come later. He opened the door before I reached for the knob. The way he filled the doorway made the house feel smaller. You took your sweet time for a supposed rash follow-up. He looked my son over like checking for evidence of treatment. Did the doctor say anything real, or was this nothing again? He checked him. He said it looks okay now. I carried the diaper bag past him because my hands needed tasks. He just wants us to keep an eye on any changes. I knew He sounded vague and I watched his face tense. That is why it took so long. They squeezed us in. You could have answered at least one call though. He followed me into the kitchen with slow, heavy steps. Funny how your phone only works when you need something. He pulled open the fridge and stared inside without really looking. I am starting to feel like you do this on purpose. My heart pounded so loud I wondered if he heard it. I was distracting him, playing with toys. It was loud. I kept my back to him while I unpacked wipes and snacks. I honestly did not see the missed calls until we left. That part was technically true, which helped it slide out easier. He closed the fridge a little too hard and leaned back. So now I am the crazy one for expecting updates. Do you know how that looks, me calling and calling you? You sitting in some waiting room ignoring your husband completely. The word ignoring landed with a weight heavier than usual. I am not ignoring you, I am just juggling everything. My voice rose before I could flatten it again, which I regretted. His eyes snapped to my face and narrowed for a second. You juggle nothing I do not provide money for, remember that. He pointed toward the hallway like the walls belonged only to him. I shut my mouth because arguing past that never worked. He grabbed his keys from the dish with a quick jerky movement. I have errands, do not turn off your location again, understood? The last word sliced more than if he had shouted a curse. He walked out without waiting for a response or a look. Later that night, the house quieted but my nerves stayed buzzy. The lawyer's phrases circled my thoughts while I loaded the dishwasher. Document patterns, gather evidence, trust your instincts if it escalates. I dried my hands and opened the drawer where we kept files. My fingers hovered over the folders like they were wired. I pulled out the most recent tax packet and laid it flat. His name first, then mine, both signatures at the bottom. Mortgage statement with his name printed bold at the top. My eyes scanned interest rates and principal even though I barely understood. I snapped photos quickly and emailed them to a new address. It felt sneaky and pathetic and also strangely powerful. Every click of the camera sounded like it might echo down the hall. I moved faster, grabbing insurance forms and loan statements. My breath came shallow and quick like I had just sprinted. At any moment I expected his hand to close over mine. Once the files were back in their place, I forced myself to breathe. I checked the hallway twice, then locked my phone with shaking fingers. In the nursery, the kids slept without knowing any of this. I stood there watching their faces, feeling equal parts fierce and broken. I promised them silently I would not stay stuck forever. The next few days, tension stretched over everything like thin plastic. He was polite in front of the kids and oddly distant otherwise. Little remarks dropped here and there, aimed precisely at sore spots. Must be nice to have free time for mommy playdates. Some of us actually work for the roof and electricity. I responded less each time, partly to avoid fights, partly from exhaustion. He noticed my quiet because of course he always did. One evening he watched me wipe the counter with slow movements. You have been sulking since that appointment of yours, you know. He made little air quotes that turned my stomach instantly. It was a medical visit, there is nothing to dramatize. My fingers tightened around the dishcloth until my knuckles hurt. If something is bothering you, you could just say it. He laughed once, short and humorless, and shook his head. I will say it when you stop lying to my face. That line made my vision pulse for a second from pure adrenaline. What exactly do you think I am lying about lately? I turned toward him because hiding never helped anyway. He picked up his phone and waved it faintly in the air. You keep turning off sharing, you think I would not notice. I had forgotten about the little icon on the top bar. My cheeks heated up so fast I felt dizzy for a moment. Battery saver toggled some things, I did not do it deliberately. Even to my own ears that sounded weak and half-formed. He watched me, lips pressed together like he was grading an essay. You are getting secretive, which is funny for someone unemployed. He dropped his phone on the table with a dull tap. What exactly do you have to hide between naps and cartoons? My lungs felt tight, but anger started pushing through the fear. Privacy is not the same as hiding, even in a marriage. Privacy costs money, all of which comes from me right now. He pushed his chair back and stood much closer than I wanted. I check where you are because I am responsible for this family. You do not like that, go get a job that pays bills. His breath hit my face in short bursts while he talked. That was the first moment I almost told him about the lawyer. The words hovered behind my teeth, pounding against them. I imagined slamming the card on the table like a challenge. In my mind he laughed, told me I wasted their time. In my mind he also packed a bag and locked me out. Instead, I wiped my hands and walked toward the hallway slowly. We are not having this same conversation again tonight. I tried to sound done, not terrified, just done. Behind me, his voice followed like a shadow. We will keep having it until you remember who runs this place. That sentence lodged deeper than usual, like a splinter in my ribs. I went to check on the kids again, mostly to breathe alone. In the dim quiet, the lawyer's warning replayed in my head. If it escalates, document, do not argue, just gather proof. I stared at my phone, suddenly aware of the recorder icon. The actual blow-up did not happen that night, which almost surprised me. It came a few evenings later, after a long day with endless crying. I had not answered two of his calls because my hands were full. When he walked in, I could tell from his shoulders we were doomed. He dropped his bag and did not even glance at the kids. What is the point of me working this hard if you disrespect it? He kicked off his shoes sharply and left them blocking the entry. I call you ignore, then act shocked when I get upset. My back was already tight from the day and from dread. I was changing a diaper, I am not glued to the phone. There is always some reason why you cannot pick up for me. His voice climbed with each word, though he kept it under shouting. Funny, you always see every notification from your sister instantly. He snatched my phone from the counter before I could move it. I instinctively took one step after him, heart hammering in my ears. Give it back, I was in the middle of a message. I reached out and he lifted it just out of reach. His thumb moved faster than mine ever did on that screen. How many secret chats do you need when I pay everything? He scanned through notifications, jaw clenched, eyes darting. The kids were in the living room, thankfully distracted by a show. I lowered my voice so they would not hear words like this. You are not my warden, put my phone down right now. He stared at me like he did not recognize the tone. You forget this is my account paying for that line. There it was, that sentence that always curled in my gut. He tossed the phone onto the couch with a careless flick. I scooped it up and locked it, fingers trembling slightly. Before I could step away, he blocked the path between rooms. We are finishing this, I am tired of your attitude lately. The kids started whining for snacks, which gave me cover. After they go to bed, I am not doing this in front of them. I moved sideways and squeezed through the small gap he left. He let me pass, but his stare burned into my back the whole time. The whole rest of the evening felt like waiting for a storm. Once the kids were finally asleep, the house shifted into that thin quiet. I stood in the hallway a second, reluctant to walk back. When I entered the living room, he was already standing there. Arms crossed, feet planted like he had been rehearsing lines. Good, no distractions, now we can talk like adults. His version of talking like adults always felt like a deposition. I sat on the far end of the couch to keep distance. He paced once, then stopped directly in front of the coffee table. You have been acting like this is your place, your stuff, your rules. He gestured around the room in a wide, dismissive arc. Maybe because I live here full time, raising our children here. My shoulders were buzzing with adrenaline, but my voice stayed low. I am asking for basic respect, not trying to steal anything. He barked out a harsh laugh that made my skin prickle. Basic respect from the person completely dependent on my paycheck. He leaned forward, hands on his knees, eyes locked on mine. You walk around here like we are equals, but we are not. You do not bring in $1, yet you want equal say. If I stopped tomorrow, everything would collapse on your head. He snapped his fingers, that quick sound made my throat tighten. That was when the lawyer's advice rose again, sharp and clear. Document it, do not just remember, get it recorded when possible. My phone lay beside me on the cushion, half hidden by a pillow. My hands felt heavy, but I slid one down slowly toward it. He was still ranting about ungrateful spouses who forget who provides. You know what this house is, legally speaking. He started pacing again, energy building instead of fading. This deed is in my name, the mortgage is mine alone. The car, the insurance, the retirement, all linked to me. If I walk out, all of this walks out with me. My thumb found the side button and pressed it. Sue. BTLY. The screen lit under the pillow, then darkened as the recorder opened. I tapped where the red circle usually sat, praying muscle memory worked. If it did not, I would look ridiculous and still be trapped. He did not notice, too busy listing every bill he covered. Without me, you are a mom with no job and no address. He turned toward me again, hands spread like he was teaching. No landlord takes a stay-at-home mother with zero income. No bank approves a car for someone without pay stubs. His words made my stomach churn, even though I knew some were wrong. I forced myself to keep my face neutral so he would keep talking. You like to forget that every time you question my choices. You want to challenge how I spend, yet you do not contribute. He jerked his chin at me like daring me to argue. I manage everything while you complain from the couch. I raise our kids, I run this entire household daily. I could feel tears burning, but I refused to let them fall. If I walked away with them tomorrow, you would feel the difference. His eyes flashed at that, and something darker slid over his expression. You are not walking anywhere without my permission, let us be clear. Those words knocked the breath out of me harder than the rest. I actually sat back like I had been pushed even though he never touched me. So now I need authorization from you to leave my own home. My voice cracked on home, which I hated and could not fix. He stepped closer, close enough that I could see a vein pulsing. This is my home, I pay for every inch of it. He jabbed a finger toward the floor, then toward the hallway. You and the kids live here because I allow it, remember that. If you keep pushing me, a judge can settle where everyone lives. That last part ripped through me in a way I cannot overstate. What does that mean, a judge? What are you implying right now? My hands shook so badly I had to lace them together. He straightened up, rolled his shoulders once, almost loosening up. It means custody does not automatically go to the one without income. Courts listen to the person who can provide real stability. In that second, I heard every late-night threat he had ever made. Every comment about owning everything landed in a new hard pattern. You are saying you would try to take them from me. The words scraped up my throat, tasting like metal and panic. He did not flinch, which scared me more than if he yelled. I am saying if you ever walk out, you do not decide terms. He enunciated each piece slowly, like explaining math to a child. You would not just grab them and run to your sister's couch. I would call my lawyer and let the system do its job. He smiled a little, like he was proud of that sentence. Something broke open in my chest that I still cannot describe well. Up until then, I had always told myself he would never go that far. That deep down he was just angry, not actually planning real damage. Hearing him talk about lawyers and judges turned that hope to dust. I felt both sick and suddenly colder, almost weirdly focused. You keep reminding me you own everything, I noticed that. My voice dropped, which made him lean in to catch it. The house, the car, the accounts, now apparently my future. You also tell me you could replace me, like changing providers. His eyes narrowed because he did not like hearing his own lines. I tell you the truth, you just do not like it. He dragged a hand through his hair, leaving it mussed. Plenty of women would kill to stay home and not work. You act like you are trapped in a nightmare instead of blessed. Every word dug into some old guilt I had carried silently. You know what really bothers you? It is not my tone. He dropped onto the armchair across from me, posture loose now. It is that you know I am right about the power dynamic. Money gives leverage, and right now I hold it all. He spread his hands like presenting a simple, undeniable fact. Something inside me hardened when he said leverage. The lawyer's voice echoed in my head, calm and direct. Staying home does not erase your rights, do not let him decide reality. I thought of the photos saved, the secret account, the card. Plain pieces of proof that I was not completely powerless. You do not own me, even if you pay the mortgage. The sentence came out clearer than I expected, almost steady. He stared like I had spoken an unknown language for a second. Then his face chilled in a way I had not seen before. Keep telling yourself that while you use everything I finance. He stood up again, pacing tighter now, energy buzzing off him. You want choices, fine, go get a job that covers half. Half the house, half the car, half the daycare we would need. Until you do, maybe stop biting the hand that feeds your life. The phrase made my whole body recoil, like I had been slapped. In that moment I knew this was exactly the kind of rant I needed recorded. Not only for some hypothetical judge, but for myself later. To replay when I doubted whether it was really that bad. I slid my fingers deeper under the pillow to check the screen. The tiny timer on the recorder app ticked up silently. He moved closer again, looming over the coffee table between us. There is one more thing you seem stubborn about understanding. If I decide I am done, you do not get to keep this life. I could sell this place, move, start over with someone grateful. He watched me closely when he said someone, waiting for a reaction. I felt my stomach pitch like I was on a drop ride. So that is how you see me now, ungrateful and disposable. The words came out low and rough, almost like they belonged to someone else. He shrugged like we were discussing a broken appliance instead of marriage. I see you as someone who forgot where everything comes from. He stepped backward a little and sank onto the chair again. His breathing had slowed, but his eyes were still hard and bright. You leave with clothes and whatever fits in your trunk. House stays, car stays, everything tied to my name stays too. He lifted his phone and tapped the side like it was a gavel. Do you hear yourself right now? Honestly, do you actually hear it? Tears finally spilled over because there was too much pressure inside. You are talking like I am a tenant you can evict at will. You are the one who wanted me home with the kids, remember? He rolled his eyes and glanced at the ceiling like asking for patience. I wanted a parent at home, not a martyr with a bad attitude. His gaze dropped back to me, sharp and unyielding. You want to work now? Great, go apply somewhere and help out. But do not expect a say equal to mine while you contribute nothing. The repetition of nothing made my pulse pound in my ears. He reached for his own phone, maybe to check messages or time. That small move jolted me into a new fear I had not anticipated. What if he grabbed mine and saw the recording screen glowing? What if he watched himself on playback and really lost it? My fingers curled more tightly around the device hidden beside me. I tried to pivot, to lower the temperature before everything shattered. We both need a break, this is going nowhere good tonight. My voice wobbled, but I kept pushing through the sentence. We can talk about plans when we are both calmer and rested. He looked at me for a long moment without responding. Then he took 2 strides and was right in front of me. He leaned down slightly, close enough that I could see every line. You do not decide when this ends, I do understand that. His hand dropped toward the couch cushion near my hip. Before I could move, his fingers closed around my phone. His fingers closed around my phone and my stomach flipped. For a second I could not hear anything except blood rushing. He straightened, thumb already sliding across the screen. That little smirk tells me there is something fun in here. I kept my hands still because grabbing for it would prove him right. He unlocked it faster than I ever could. The lock screen vanished, then the home screen, then notifications. He opened messages, scrolled, snorted at something my sister wrote. My heart thudded so loud I waited for him to notice the sound. The recording app sat there, hidden behind a dark screen, ticking. Nothing but whining about your hard life, he muttered, scrolling. Poor you, living for free in a place you do not pay for. He tossed the phone back onto the cushion beside me. Grow up, Emily, this martyr act is getting old. He turned away, convinced he had seen everything important. The second his back was turned, I flipped the phone over. My hand shielded the screen while I hit the square stop icon. The timer froze, saving a long block of pure poison in memory. My hands shook so violently, the phone almost slipped from my grip. I shoved it under my thigh and forced my face blank. I am done with this conversation, he announced, heading for the hall. You want respect, start by respecting who carries this family. His footsteps faded toward the bedroom without waiting for response. I stayed there on the couch, muscles locked, phone burning in my hand. It felt like I was holding a loaded thing that might explode. When the house finally went quiet, I checked the file. One long audio clip, time-stamped, sitting in the folder like evidence. I hit play for 2 seconds just to be sure it worked. His voice flooded out, cold and clear and worse than I remembered. I stopped it fast, terrified he would wake and hear himself. I did not sleep much that night. Every time I drifted off, I heard him say permission. By morning my eyes hurt and my patience was paper thin. He acted normal, humming while he made coffee, checking his watch. He kissed the kids and ruffled my hair like nothing happened. You remember I am leaving Thur. Our rest day, right? He poured coffee into a travel mug like it mattered more than us. Conference overnight, back Friday evening if traffic cooperates. My brain snapped onto that sentence like a lifeline. I kept my tone even somehow. Yeah, you mentioned it, I answered, sliding toast onto plates. I will handle everything here, just send your schedule. He nodded, grabbed his bag, checked his reflection in the glass. Do not blow up my phone while I am gone, he joked. Then he left, totally unaware that sentence flipped our script. I spent the next 2 days moving like a person in a dream. On the surface, routine stayed the same, diapers and snacks and cartoons. Underneath, every spare minute went to planning and quiet preparation. I listened to the recording in short chunks with earbuds in. Each time I replayed it, shame and fury tangled together inside me. I forwarded the file to myself, then to a new address. I renamed it something boring so it would not attract any attention. I uploaded it to a folder only I knew the password for. Then I texted my lawyer's assistant a short message. I have audio that might matter, can I send it? She replied faster than I expected. Yes, email it securely, we will attach it to your file. Seeing the word file next to my name made my skin prickle. I wrote a quick note explaining the context and hit send. With that click, our private meltdown became part of a legal story. Next, I called my sister while the kids colored at the table. You know that couch you keep offering? I asked quietly. She went silent for a beat like she was bracing herself. Do you need it? She asked, no joking this time at all. Because if you say yes, you can come today. Not today, I whispered, staring at the calendar on the wall. He is leaving Thursday morning, I am going after he goes. The words shook as I said them, but they came out anyway. I cannot do it with him in the house, I am not that brave. She inhaled sharply, then started rattling off logistics. She cleared the spare room, found an extra mattress, checked her schedule. She promised to take a few hours off to help me settle in. We went through the list like a weird emergency drill. Documents, kids' stuff, any cash, medications, sentimental things you will miss. Every item made my chest feel heavier and my resolve clearer. That night I packed a small bag and then unpacked it twice. I argued with myself in whispers while I folded shirts. Maybe I was overreacting, maybe counseling could fix this mess. Then I remembered him saying he could start over with someone grateful. That sentence alone shoved my clothes back into the bag. Finally, the day came. He rushed around the house in the early morning, annoyed about traffic. "Try not to call me unless the house burns down," he joked again. He kissed the kids, tapped my hip, grabbed his keys. The front door shut, and the sound felt like a starting gun. I waited 10 long minutes, watching the clock in the driveway. When his message popped up on the road, my lungs loosened. I buckled the kids into their seats with a weird, steady focus. Then I walked through the rooms with 2 trash bags in my bag. I threw in clothes, 2 favorite toys each, and the important envelopes. I grabbed the file folder with birth certificates and insurance. I slid the secret savings envelope into the side pocket of my bag. I almost took our wedding album, then stopped with my fingers on it. If I came back, it would still be there. If I did not, I was not sure I wanted it. When everything I could realistically carry was piled by the door, I froze. Leaving felt huge and stupid and necessary all at once. I went back to the living room, took one last slow look. This place held first steps and first words and so many nights. It also held every time he reminded me I counted less. I buckled the kids in, loaded the trunk, checked the house a final time. My hands shook so badly I had to try the lock twice. I backed out of the driveway with my heart pounding in my ears. Every car behind me looked like it might be him turning around. I did not really breathe until I merged onto the main road. The drive to my sister's felt longer than any trip I have done. My phone buzzed with a new message halfway there. "Forgot to tell you, autopay pulled early, do not freak about the balance." He still thought I was home worrying about bills and cards. I muted the thread and kept my eyes fixed on the road. When we pulled up to my sister's place, she was already outside. She jogged down the walkway barefoot, eyes wide and wet. The moment I stepped out, my legs lost some strength. She hugged me while I tried not to collapse in her arms. Behind us, my oldest clapped because he thought this was a party. We hauled bags and kids inside in 3 quick trips. The spare room looked thrown together, but in a good way. Blankets, a couple of pillows, a corner cleared for toys. It was not fancy, but it was ours for the moment. I sat on the mattress and felt everything hit at once. I cried harder than I had in months. Ugly, shaking sobs that made my chest ache. My sister sat on the floor leaning against the bed. She did not say much, just kept a hand on my arm. When I finally quieted, she passed me a glass of water. "What now?" she asked softly, eyes on my face. I wiped my cheeks with the heels of my hands. "I call my lawyer, I send him the recording, I breathe." The words sounded too simple for what they meant. But that was the list, and I could at least start. I stepped onto her small back porch and called the office. My voice shook as I told the receptionist I had left. She put me through to the attorney faster than usual. "Tell me where you are and if you feel safe," he asked. I told him about my sister's house and the drive. He listened, then asked if I had any proof of the threats. I told him about the audio and the emails where he bragged. "Send everything tonight," he instructed, firm but calm. "We will file for temporary orders first thing in the morning." He explained what those could cover in plain, direct language. Temporary custody, exclusive use of the home, support calculations. I had never heard those phrases apply to my life before. He sounded confident, which felt unreal compared to the chaos in my chest. "The recording helps show a pattern," he added. "You are not just making a vague claim about control." After the call, I forwarded the file from my new address. I attached screenshots of texts where he mentioned judges and control. I added a notes document with dates and short descriptions. While I typed, my phone buzzed on the table over and over. His name filled half the notification screen by the end. I did not call him back that day. I typed out one short message instead. "We are at my sister's, we are safe, I need space." My finger hovered, then I added one more line. "I have spoken to an attorney, do not come here." I hit send and felt like I had jumped off something tall. The response came in within seconds. You took my kids without permission, this is kidnapping. He piled on more accusations and threats and lines about courts. Every new bubble just reinforced why I had left. My lawyer advised me to keep replies minimal and controlled. Respond in writing that you are not blocking his contact with the children. Offer specific times for video calls, nothing more right now. So I did that, fingers trembling, kids playing at my feet. FaceTime tonight at 7 is fine if you stay respectful. That first call was surreal. He smiled big for the camera like a commercial. Hey buddies, you having fun at Auntie's place? He looked past them once, eyes locking with mine through the screen. The smile never reached his eyes when he saw my face. After we hung up, my oldest asked when we were going home. The word home hit like a punch because I did not know anymore. I pulled him close and kissed the side of his head. We are staying here for a while, just until things settle down. It was the closest to the truth I could manage in kid language. Nights in that room were strange at first. I would lie awake listening to my sister move around the house. The mattress creaked whenever I shifted beside the toddler. Every creak made me think of his footsteps back at the old place. My body still flinched at sounds that were not even there. During the day, I started poking at job boards on my phone. I updated my resume again, this time with less self-loathing. I sent out a handful of applications during nap time. One place wrote back within 3 days asking for an interview. It was part-time, not glamorous, but it was actual income. I told my lawyer about the interview, and he sounded pleased. Judges like to see steps toward independence, he said. This shows initiative, not abandonment of your role as a parent. Hearing that took a tiny bit of weight off my shoulders. Just enough to stand a little straighter that afternoon. He filed the motion for temporary orders that same week. Reading my name on those documents made my hands sweat. Words like petitioner and respondent turned us into roles. Still, there was something solid about it, like stepping on concrete. We had dates, we had a process, we were not just fighting in circles. When he was served, my phone buzzed all afternoon. You really went that far, over arguments about money. I gave you everything, and this is how you repay me. He called me a traitor, an ingrate, a liar, a manipulator. In every rant, he mentioned how much he owned. I saved every message in a separate folder, like the lawyer taught me. I did not engage with the insults, just repeated the basics. I will follow court orders and keep the children safe. You can contact them during agreed times in a respectful way. Every neutral reply made him angrier, which strangely helped. My clarity. And now this is where I am while I type this. Sitting on a spare mattress in my sister's small extra room. One child is curled up beside me, finally breathing slow and deep. My phone shows a calendar filled with hearings and deadlines. It also shows an interview reminder for next week at 10. I have a case number, an attorney, and a tiny savings balance. I have an audio file that still makes me nauseous when I hear it. I have a sister who said yes when I asked for help. What I do not have is my old version of security anymore. The kind that rested entirely on someone who enjoyed that power. I am not going to pretend I feel brave all the time. Most days I am exhausted and scared and second-guessing everything. I worry about the kids, about rent, about how judges think. I replay our fights and cringe at how long I stayed. But for the first time, the future feels open instead of locked. He might keep the house, the car, the nice pieces of furniture. He might brag to his friends that he won because he kept the property. Let him enjoy whatever he thinks those things prove. Because they all come with one condition I finally walked away from. He can own the house, the car, and whatever else, but he doesn't own me.